The Quran never actually tells you to stop feeling anxious. It tells you to swallow it. The Arabic word is kadhimin al-ghayza, those who swallow their anger, their fear, their panic. Not deny it, not pretend it isn't there, but swallow it, take it in, master it, and refuse to let it master them. Because the Quran knows what modern psychology is only beginning to understand. Anxiety is not the enemy you think it is. It is a liar wearing your own voice. And the Quran does not ask you to silence the liar. It teaches you how to expose it. Let me tell you about a sister named Fatma. She had been practicing Islam for 15 years, prayed on time, wore hijab, fasted, gave sadaqah, led a women's circle every Wednesday. Everyone in the masjid thought she was the picture of Iman. But inside her chest lived a constant, low-grade terror. Some mornings, she couldn't get out of bed. Other days, she cancelled everything because the what-ifs were screaming too loud. She had panic attacks before every doctor's appointment, every bill, every phone call from her children's school, and every single person she turned to, her husband, her friends, her imam, gave her the same 3 words: just trust Allah. As if she hadn't already said Hasbunallahu wa wakeel 10,000 times. As if she hadn't already made dua until her voice cracked. As if the problem was that she wasn't trying hard enough. There is something quietly soul-crushing about being told to just trust when your nervous system is convinced you are about to lose everything. It doesn't bring peace, it brings shame. And shame on top of anxiety is one of the heaviest burdens a believer can carry. So let's actually open the book. The phrase everyone quotes comes from Surat Al-Imran, verse 173. The context is the Battle of Uhud, one of the most terrifying days in the entire history of Islam. 700 Muslims against 3,000 Quraysh. The initial victory, the archers leaving their post, the sudden sickening turn, the cry that ripped through the battlefield. Muhammad has been killed. Men who had fought like lions moments earlier now felt their legs turn to water. Some fled, some froze, hearts hammering against ribs. Mothers would later find their sons' bodies in the dust. And in that exact moment of collective khawf, that raw animal terror of what was coming next, a small group of companions did something that changed everything. They did not run, they did not scream. They planted their feet in the blood-soaked ground and raised their voices. Hasbunallahu wa wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. The Quraysh were still coming. Arrows were still flying. The Prophet himself was wounded, bleeding, barely standing. But those men's faces were not twisted in panic. They were set in something far more dangerous to shaitan than courage, certainty. The verse says it increased them in faith. Their hearts did not shrink, they expanded. That is the living, breathing model of what the Quran offers you when anxiety hits. Not a platitude, a battlefield declaration. Now here is where most explanations fail. They turn this into a list. Step 1, remember Allah. Step 2, make dua. Step 3, trust. No, this is not a checklist. This is a battle plan against the liar living in your chest. When the anxiety hits, and it will hit, your mind wants to spin. Break the spin. Do not whisper, I am anxious. The shaitan loves when fear stays vague and shadowy. He can hide in the fog, drag it into the light. Say it out loud to your Lord, voice shaking if it has to. Ya Allah, I am terrified that this report will destroy my family. I am terrified of the debt swallowing everything we built. I am terrified that this pain in my body will never end and I will become a burden. Strip the fear of its shadows. Then do the one physical thing that is still in your control today. Tie the camel, make the appointment, send the difficult message, open the bill, take the walk. Whatever is in your power, do it. And the moment you finish, you open your hands. I have done my part. The rest belongs to you. Ya Allah, I trust you with what I cannot control. You do not pick it back up 5 minutes later. You leave it there. In His hands. That is not weakness. That is the most aggressive act of war you can wage against anxiety. Because anxiety feeds on your hands staying clenched around the problem. The moment you open them, the liar loses its grip. Let me show you what this looks like in a real human being. A brother named Yusuf, successful businessman, meticulous, the kind of man who built his entire identity on control. Then his youngest son was diagnosed with a serious illness. For the first time in his adult life, Yusuf faced something he could not research, negotiate, or work his way out of. The anxiety moved into his chest like a squatter who refused to leave. He prayed, he fasted, he gave charity, he said every du'at. Still the terror came in waves. One day I asked him one single question. Can you name even one time in your life when you were 100% convinced that Allah had abandoned you and you were right? He sat in total silence. The color drained from his face. No, he finally said, not even once. And in that exact moment, the betrayal hit him like a blade to the ribs. His anxiety wasn't just a feeling, it was a liar. For years it had stood in front of him every single day, disguised as his own voice, whispering, "This time Allah won't come through. This time you're alone. This time the worst is certain." It had been gaslighting him with his own mouth. From that day forward, he stopped obeying the liar. Every time the voice spoke, he answered with the truth, "Hasbunallahu wa wakeel." And slowly, the panic began to lose its power, not because the situation changed overnight, because he finally saw who the real enemy was. The Quran makes a crucial distinction the modern world has forgotten. There are two shadows that can darken the heart: khawf, the dread of what might come; huzn, the grief over what has already passed. Anxiety is mostly khawf. The righteous are promised again and again, "No fear will there be upon them, nor will they grieve." Surah Al-Baqarah 238. How? Through the same mechanism we have been discussing. When khawf rises, you meet it with tawakkul. When huzn rises, you meet it with sabr and the remembrance that Allah is the turner of hearts. Often they come together, the fear of what might happen mixed with the grief of what already did. The cure is the same. Drag both into the light. Affirm that Allah is sufficient. Open your hands. Now let me give you the practical weapon the Prophet himself used when anxiety pressed on him. He taught us this specific dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wal-ajzi wal-kasal, wal-bukhli wal-jubn, wa dala'i ad-dayni wa ghalabati ar-rijal. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and grief, from weakness and laziness, from miserliness and cowardice, from the burden of debt, and from being overpowered by men. Notice what he did not say. He did not say, "O Allah, remove all my problems." He said, "Protect me from the anxiety and grief that those problems try to create inside me." That is the difference between begging and declaring. One keeps you small, the other puts you back in your rightful position as the servant of the most sufficient. I want to be completely honest with you about something the self-help world will never tell you. Some anxiety is clinical. Some of it is rooted in brain chemistry, trauma, or medical conditions. And there is no Quranic verse, no matter how powerful, that is a substitute for professional help. Allah gave us medicine. Allah gave us therapists. Allah gave us the science of the mind. Using them is not a failure of faith. It is wisdom. It is stewardship of the body and soul He gave you. What the Quran offers is not a replacement. It is the foundation you stand on while you do the hard work of healing. The sakinah of Allah and the help of a skilled professional are not in competition. They are companions. So here is what I want you to do the next time the chest tightens. You stop. You say out loud, even if your voice shakes, Hasbunallahu wa wakeel. You name the specific terror. Ya Allah, I am terrified that this test result will say it is cancer. I am terrified that my children will grow up without stability. I am terrified that I will die alone and forgotten. You strip it of its shadows. You do the one thing in your control today. Then you open your hands, palms up, empty, and you say, I have done my part. The rest belongs to you. Ya Allah, I trust you with what I cannot control. You leave it there. You do not pick it back up 5 minutes later. You breathe. And you wait for the peace that transcends understanding to stand guard at the door of your heart. It may not come instantly, but it comes. Because the one who was in the cave with the Prophet is in the room with you right now. Every time you feel your chest tightening, every time your face heats up, every time you want to say the words you will regret. Remember this. The strongest person is not the one who wins the argument. It is the one who controls himself when he has every reason to explode. So if you needed to hear this today, hit subscribe, because the hard truth is, the Quran never actually tells you to stop feeling anxious.